Welcome to the WDW News Today podcast, episode number 12. My name's Eric Morton. With me, as always, is Tom Corliss. And today
I'm cosplaying as a bum. I didn't shave. I haven't a haircut.
See, people noticed in one of the videos that I did shave, which was news in a very small segment of society. Yeah. And now I'm just letting it grow out. I just shave every now and then to let my face breathe for a few days. It's hard for me to keep my face moisturized in the winter sometimes.
Is this where we do an ad for Manscaped cold. Or something? Is that what's happening? Is that about?
No.
That's what they do on podcasts. Everyone's sponsored by that thing. Yeah, so
I don't know. I just, stuff I bought from the store, I rub on my face. No. The one like skincare place at Disney.
The stuff he bought from the store that he rubs on his face is Reese's. Yeah. Reese's peanut butter.
We're already so far off track. What was the place at Disney Springs? They had skincare products for men and women.
The Ganachery.
Kyle's.
It's Kiehl's.
Kiehl's, yeah. I had some old Kiehl's stuff, but you know how it gets all crusty after it's been sitting there for a couple of years. I don't trust that stuff. I got to get some stuff from CVS.
Shaving gel. That's all I use.
I don't have any.
Maybe we're gonna get sent all of this product now.
I doubt it. I don't need it. I have a beard.
But yeah,
I just needed to moisturize.
I forgot to order shaving cream this week.
I try to moisturize my face through my beard. It doesn't always work, and then some of the stuff can build up on there and give you like stuff that falls off of your beard. It looks like dandruff. You know, it's like. I got moisturizer that just I didn't get rid of or something. I don't know. It's gross, right?
Yes.
All right, so episode 12. What we're going to cover today is all the things that social media says Walt is rolling in his grave about, because every day in our comments, no matter what we're covering, the subject matter of the story, whatever, Walt is rolling in his grave about.
And now Elon Musk said it.
He did. He said that we reported that today. So this is an interesting story. I don't know if we want to get into it. I do have this.
I don't want to talk about the Elon stuff because
it's funny. It's funny because basically he made comments that a lot of companies said they wanted to distance themselves from, that were perceived as anti-Semitic or whatever, and so a bunch of these companies stopped advertising on X.
Yeah,
you can't say X without saying formerly Twitter, right?
Because no one knows what X is.
Right. So basically, a bunch of these companies just stopped advertising. So someone asked him about it, and Musk is like, yeah, it's the dumbest thing I've ever said on social media. I apologize. That was really dumb. And then he proceeded to tell everyone who stopped advertising with him, F off, and that not advertising is blackmail, which is not – he's a genius of our time, right? He doesn't know what the word blackmail means. It doesn't mean you don't advertise with someone because you don't agree with what they said.
I think he's lost the genius of our time thing over time, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Look, you could be smart and not
knowing when to shut up is definitely part of not being,
I mean, you suffer from being a reasonably intelligent person that sometimes wishes he didn't say something that he said. Maybe you don't. I don't know. I
really wish I was less honest, so my life would have gone better.
Yeah, that's the thing. So then he comes out, he says, Walt is rolling over in his grave. And I'm starting to wonder if Elon Musk is on Diz Twitter, because
maybe
it seems like something you see.
Every story, the stupidest things, I'm like, I don't know if that's the thing.
Everything we do is that Walt is rolling over.
There's some things I agree with. The thought definitely goes through my mind sometimes when I'm at the park.
Yeah. Do you want to tell me what all the candy's about?
Okay. So, you know how we just wasted a bunch of time talking about skincare products and shaving cream? There was another episode where we wasted a bunch of time, and one person in the comments definitely let us know what happened. They're going to be super happy about this opening. We argued about what was the right Reese's. What's the best Reese's?
You said you only wanted trees.
I like the trees, the pumpkins. Hearts, and eggs and pumpkins. Yeah. Those are my favorite.
I said I like the regular cups because I like that
regular.
Ratio. Yeah.
And so after that happened, a giant box arrived at my cubicle, and I opened it, and I found a letter. I'm going to read you the letter now. Tom and Eric, my wife and I were watching your podcast on YouTube a few weeks ago and loved your banter regarding Reese's and whether the classic cup or the seasonal items were better. It just so happens that I work for Hershey and wanted to provide some samples so the debate could be decided once and for all. Some of the items in the box are brand new. Not asking for any shout-outs, but you got one. but wanted to provide some holiday treats to the staff. We enjoy your news show the most as your team always gives an honest and real review of what's happening at Disney and Universal. Hope you have a great holiday. P.S. If you want the ratio of chocolate to peanut butter and Reese's when there isn't a season, just buy the Reese's Big Cup. It's the same ratio. So David and Lindsay. David and Lindsay, this is such a sweet...
Thank you so much.
Like literally a sweet thing.
And the
to
big
do,
cup,
but
the big
also-
cups are the same ratio as the standard cups, right? Not
No,
the little
he-
Halloween ones.
No, he's saying the big cup is the same peanut butter to chocolate ratio as these.
Oh,
As the seasonals.
okay.
So I argued that I don't like the ratio. Like, don't get me wrong. Any Reese's is delicious. This is not because we know someone at Hershey. Like, who doesn't love Reese's? There's a reason it sells as well as it does. Like, no one's ever going to turn down a Reese's peanut butter cup unless...
They're the little weird
perhaps
Halloween mini.
The tree or the pumpkin or the heart or the egg are next to it, right?
So,
That's
but there's
my
also
theory.
Kit Kat here.
They also sent us this like brand new Kit Kat. What is it?
Chocolate frosted donut.
Let's start with that then, since that doesn't have anything to do with
But
our
I
argument.
would have thought
Well, we did talk about Kit
Reese's
Kats
Sticks.
too,
Do you like Reese's Sticks?
I don't even know what that is.
They're kind of like a Kit Kat. They're like a wafer, chocolate covered wafer, peanut buttery thing. Oh, they're great.
Never heard of that.
They're great.
I've heard of Reese's Puffs. It's a cereal. I was never allowed
They're
to
not
have
as
it.
good.
As you could tell, it made a big difference in my health. Not having that one cereal. Give me two. Yeah, two is the right amount.
You have to eat two.
Two at the same
Do
time.
these come
yeah.
from the left factory or the right factory? Don't they? Oh.
They smell
Oh.
good.
Yeah. So you can see it doesn't look like a regular Kit Kat, right? It has the colors of a chocolate frosted donut.
I'm getting coffee. Right?
Is there coffee in there?
There's not, but it tastes like it.
No. I love that Kit Kat does all these crazy flavors. Like you go to Epcot in Japan, they have a bunch of different ones, right? Green tea. What?
You know, if you go to actual Japan, they have them.
Some of us cannot afford to go to actual Japan.
That's not true. It's cheaper than you think.
Somebody's got to host the news.
Wow. That's good, but I prefer the regular.
I prefer regular too. It's good.
It's funny how it's got the... You know how the peanut butter and jelly shake at 50s primetime, people always say, they swear they can taste the bread. But they don't put bread in it. Right? So it tastes like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. People swear they could taste even the bread. And that's what I feel it's happening here. Like, it's flavored to a chocolate frosted donut. But the funny thing is I feel like I can taste it dunked in coffee.
Yeah?
Right? Isn't that weird?
I would call that dumb, but we just completed a review of Eat,
Yeah.
the restaurant in
Meat
Disney
Shohan.
Springs, and we both agreed that one of the sauces tasted like a Halloween Horror Nights house.
Tastes like fog juice.
It tasted like the fog and a Halloween
All right,
Horror Nights.
let me cleanse my palate
Yeah.
between.
Is this scientific? Or are we just... That was good. I actually prefer a regular Kit Kat.
It's certainly not bad,
But-
but I would want a regular Kit Kat or some other. You know, I'll be honest, even having bought them in Japan, I'm not crazy about the flavored Kit Kats. I never think I think they got the Kit Kat right the first time.
Yeah, I think the green tea ones are interesting and good.
They're
I think there's
good. It's just, I think they got it right the first time.
yeah,
Yeah.
nothing wrong with.
But I
getting it
will
right.
tell you, if you get a Kit Kat in like Canada or in Europe or
With that
anywhere else, the
richer chocolate,
regular,
yeah.
it's way better, right? Because we use so much garbage.
Are we eating the whole? Are we eating all of these?
You want to leave the tree for now? Do you want to start with something else? Well, you have to compare them.
Yeah, I need to compare one bite of each.
You
right?
want to share a tree? I don't want to
we
share
can
a
share
tree.
Sharing. No, okay, you can keep.
No,
it.
I'm eating a whole tree. I'm sorry. This is what I live for, these things. I don't like that they put the calories right on the little package now.
170.
One tree is 170 calories.
I'm just gonna bite the top. Oh, it's already broken off for me. Perfect.
Oh, man.
So I like it. I feel like so much peanut butter there.
Yeah.
It's just a little bit too much. I almost can't taste the chocolate. It can't fight off that peanut butter taste. Too thick.
I don't
Too thick.
agree. Everyone's going to have to give me a minute.
You're gonna eat. Oh, these are different. These are caramel big cups.
Yeah, I don't know if I really want caramel in a Reese's. Right? Oh, these are.
Either way, the trees are still better than no. Hate is a strong word. I do not prefer the small Reese's cups that you get like Halloween that are individually wrapped.
I agree. Those are junk.
Yeah.
Those are garbage. I've never had a Reese's Big Cup of any flavor, so I don't know.
I haven't either. But I've had the sticks, and you've never had the sticks? Oh, this is definitely thicker. This is definitely more like the tree.
The big cup that's like this. One Thanksgiving, one of my friends bought us all the like
Like
mega.
a pie?
Well, kind of, but it was just a big cup. It wasn't a pie. Oh, these are heavy. Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
Could knock someone out with this. Is it good?
I love caramel. I love peanut butter. I love chocolate.
You smell the caramel.
I don't love the ratio. The balance there is just a little. It's good. Trust me, I would crush a bunch of these, but with what I have sitting in front of me, I'm still going for the traditional Reese's. No, you don't like it at all?
It's terrible.
You think it's terrible?
The caramel ruins it.
I don't
But I
love
think
it.
the ratio's off anyway. I don't know.
So, if I weren't paying attention, I might snag one of these at the checkout stand and be like, "Oh wait, caramel," I guess, and then that's what they count on, right? Try to spread the product around and let you find other things you like. There are people that are going to love that. I'm not one of them.
Yeah, masochists.
Oh, come on.
Well, now for comparison,
We should have a snack blog. Forget news.
it's a saturated market.
Are there a lot of snack bloggers?
Oh, yeah. There are tons of people who do this kind of stuff. We're not qualified. Cheers.
Cheers. All right. Back to
The
perfection.
original. Wow.
Oh, perfect. Oh, were these chilled? Even better.
All of this was in the fridge. What are you, a savage?
didn't notice
you
it with the
you
other
think
one.
I'm a savage? I left them out?
I thought you just pulled them out of a box.
I put them directly in the fridge. Like a human being.
Perfection.
I will say it's better than the big cup, right? I'm not averse to a regular Reese's. I just like the tree better.
Yeah.
That's good, though.
What are we missing to make a party complete? Oh, the Cheez-It. We've had the Cheez-It discussion.
Are you just trying to get other people that work for other companies to send
If anyone
us?
works for Sunshine, no.
What's the best kind of cheese? It's the Tabasco ones, anyway.
No, actually, I have a gripe with Cheez-It, which is if you go to Publix or wherever your local grocery store is, it's very easy to get fooled and accidentally getting like the low fat or the low sodium version of these things. You've got to get the right ones. Because there's so many of them. You're like, same thing with Wheat Thins, by the way. I'm a sucker for Wheat Thins.
I do love Wheat Thin.
Cheese Nips, although I think we agree are
Don't you
inferior.
dare.
They're gone. They don't exist. I don't think they
Good.
exist anymore. But at least you
Might
always
as
know
well
what you're
eat-
getting with those.
You might as well eat cheddar flavored cardboard at that.
But better cheddars. I don't see them
I don't
much.
even know what that is.
Oh, they're the best. They're like a thinner, more delicate Cheez-It, and they're in a disc.
Yeah.
Oh, they're great. But they're hard to find anymore. I think they're made by the same people that make like chicken and a biscuit and all that. Oh, the good stuff.
So with Cheez-It, I've heard in other countries they don't really have variety. There's maybe 3 or 4 boxes of Cheez-Its. And then people come here and they look in the aisle and they're like, oh my God, you have like half an aisle dedicated to Cheez-Its.
Sriracha, Cheez-Its.
It's like, that's the beauty of America.
Yeah.
Those Tabasco,
Choice.
I love those Tabasco Cheez-Its. Oh, man.
But I mean, the originals are pretty good.
The original's great.
I don't-
White cheddar and Tabasco, though, are phenomenal.
You're going to disagree. And someone from the Sunshine, somebody that watches if they work at Sunshine can tell me, I think the Cheez-Its in the individual packages are not as good as the ones in the big box. And I don't know if they're using a different preservative or a different process, but they're not. They're close, right? They're close,
I
but they're
agree.
not
I don't
as
think
good.
they are. We have those little bags, and every time I eat them, I'm like, Why do I not like these as much? And now you've nailed it. You need the box. It has to be the box.
Something
There's
about the box
different about. I don't know. It's that they all get shaken up in there, and like kind of the there's like inside of the bag of Cheez-Its, right? There is like this whole different ecosystem, right? There's like this cheese dusty air, right? There's like always, it feels like the dust
its own biome.
The dust of the Cheez-Its is always like floating. Like if you were shrunk into like Wayne Zielinski thing and you went in there, there'd just be like an orange mist you'd have to like fight through. Is the air breathable in the Cheez-It? We're not sure.
You ever take like chicken strips and you bread that you smash up a bunch of Cheez-Its in a bag?
Do you think I've done this?
You probably don't even know where your kitchen is. No, but you like, you like dip them in like an egg wash, right? And you put them in a Ziploc bag that has Cheez-Its that you've bashed up as like a breading, and then you cook those.
That isn't really like an Italian New York thing. My mother made like chicken cutlets, right? But they were always
you just add the cheese
with regular breading.
It's like if you want to be like Planet Hollywood, then you smash up Captain Crunch.
Captain Crunch,
right.
Yeah. We didn't do anything. My mother stuck to the recipes. She wasn't like. I know your significant other like loves to try new stuff constantly.
Yeah,
my mother
does.
did not. That wasn't a thing.
No, you come from a more traditional background.
It was like, we're having spaghetti and meatballs on Sunday.
We're like Lee and I are both from the Midwest. It's no rules.
That's why all
right?
the best like fast food is born in the Midwest, though, right? Because people tried weird stuff.
Yeah, I mean, Kansas, we had, I guess.
Pizza Hut?
Pizza Hut started in Kansas.
Stuffed crust. Changed
White Castle started in Kansas, even though they don't have White Castle in Kansas anymore.
See, White Castle, that's associated with New York and New Jersey mostly. But it's not even from there. It just, it expanded that way, but then failed where it originated and then ended up just staying in the Northeast. I don't even, what my favorite thing is at White Castle? It's not even the hamburger. The chicken rings.
Oh, they're disgusting.
They're so
I love the idea of them, and I've never had them done right. I think when they opened the one here, they either messed up or I didn't know. And I've only been, the only other White Castle I've been to is in Vegas. And they weren't, was it Vegas? Yeah, I think it was Vegas.
Here, so
that place does not have its act together. That's a pretty rough White Castle.
You guys brought me White Castle on the opening day from the one here because you guys went. And I asked for chicken. I didn't ask for burger. I asked for chicken rings and fries.
I brought you some, yeah.
And I think you were there when I bit in that first chicken ring, and the first thing I said was, "This is not right."
Yeah.
And I was like, "This is incorrect."
Right.
But the first thing I do, if I go home for the holidays or something, my parents will pick me up for the airport, and it'll be late usually. It'll take like a late flight because usually it'll be at the end of a work day here. Like it'll be a day we have to record.
What's the most convenient airport to the Bronx?
Technically LaGuardia, but JFK is not. Despite what my father will yell, JFK is not. It's not that big a difference. Yeah. LaGuardia is geographically closer, but you're probably more likely to sit in traffic. They've cleaned up LaGuardia. I've only been out of LaGuardia.
No. So
once
LaGuardia, there's a hack. There's a hack. You literally, there's like a bus that takes you, not to the Bronx, but there's a bus there that'll pick you up at LaGuardia. You can Google this. It's on YouTube, the video. It saved me a lot of money because I used to always Uber in or take a taxi. It was like $55, $60 to Midtown. And there's a bus, the Q something, right? And it takes you to a nearby subway station. You take that, boom, you're in Manhattan in like 10 minutes. No muss, no fuss, no sitting around in tunnels, nothing.
My father drove
you're right there in
Q
Times
bus,
Square.
Not that one.
Yeah.
At a Flushing Meadows, Queens, my father drove a bus for 25
I wish
years.
your dad was. I wish I had a commuting route where your father was my daily bus driver and he could just regale me with all his stories.
The stories are amazing.
Yeah.
They can't, none of them can be said on this show, but they're amazing. Much like both regular Reese's peanut butter cups and the trees.
Okay.
But not the big cup. No one liked the big cup.
But the individually packaged Cheez-Its, the
junk. Don't buy the little bags.
The original Sunshine Baker is rolling in his grave, which is what Walt Disney is doing according to social media.
Oh, my God.
And I think, you know where I'm going to start?
Do you think there's like a Cheez-Its fandom, and what is their horizons? I need to know, like, what is the discontinued Cheez-Its product that
I don't know,
that
but
is the horizons of the Cheez-Its community.
But last year, because Lee graduated from Purdue, so she went to the Cheez-It Bowl. I was out of town. She went to the Cheez-It Bowl.
Oh, is that the one where they had the room made of Cheez-Its like decor?
I don't know, but it's in Orlando.
Years ago was a thing.
It's in Orlando. And the best mascot I've ever seen. He's just the giant, like Mr. Cheez-It running around on the field. He's great. Anyway.
His name can't be Mr.
I don't know what his name
Cheez-It.
is. Oh, man, they're talking Kit Kat versus Twix. Reese's Sticks.
I'm Kit Kat over Twix.
Wow.
Don't get me wrong, I like Twix. It's the only candy bar with the cookie crunch.
You know what? I screwed up. I was saying, was this for the left or right factory? That's Twix, right?
That's Twix.
It's
That's
Twix
not
that does
Kit
the
Kat,
left and right factory. The two brothers that broke up, kind of like
because they're separated, right? Kit Kat, they couldn't come from different factories. They're connected.
Yeah, you're right. I'm wrong.
If you guys if you comment under the show with the word chocolate, we'll send you this half-eaten package.
Oh, no.
You get half a Reese's caramel big cup. If you comment.
Yeah, so the story, right, that's a great story. Two brothers or something ran the Twix, and then they broke up with each other. They fought. It's like Trader Joe's and Aldi, right? They're like two brothers. That's
not real with Twix.
No. I like that they took this story because you think they're all German, right? It's Trader Joe's and Aldi are like some German brothers that like got mad at each other and broke up and started separate businesses. Yeah. And Adidas and Puma.
Yeah.
Also, two brothers that fought.
Also from Germany.
Yeah, and here at Epcot, we just have two brothers that got into a war. But they didn't start rival snack stands at World Showcase.
Do you like Trader Joe's? I haven't been in ages.
Yeah, I like. I don't go. Lee goes a lot.
There are two things from Trader Joe's I love. They're those dipping chocolate chip cookies, the Dunkers.
Yeah,
they're the long stick ones, and then cat cookies. Yeah,
they also have like those Stroop. There's like some Stroopwafel type of cookies that they have that are not. I don't know. I didn't ever have a Stroopwafel until I flew. Like, I changed airlines one time and flew something I didn't normally fly. And I was like, maybe as United or something had Stroopwafel. I was like, oh man, these are good. And then Trader Joe's had a version of them that is fantastic. So
we should probably talk about Disney.
Well, so someone in the comments started screaming, you guys go off topic too much, which is true. But hey, this podcast is partially designed to help you get through your workday. You're bored. You're sitting at your desk anyway. Are we really ruining your Excel spreadsheet? I don't know. I've seen it happen in the. No, I've seen it like in a video. No,
the WIGS are along for the ride. They're like, we've heard everything you have to say about Disney. Let's talk about junk.
The WIGS are joining us. If you are a WIGS member, you're able to watch us record this live. So this normally airs on Tuesdays around 10 a.m. It didn't this past Tuesday because we were at Epcot for the opening of, what's it called? World Celebration.
Yeah.
But normally Tuesdays, and we record, in this case, on Fridays. The WIGS join us live. Yeah. They get to see, most Fridays, they get to see what Jake sees, right? Jake sees all of the options of different shots he wants to use, and the WIGS can join us live, and they're in their own private WIGS Discord that we offer. If you're interested in becoming a WIG or maybe just learning more about it, you can go to patreon.com/WDWNT or WDWNT.com/Patreon.
Yeah.
So there you have it. As little as $2 a month, you can be.
And we're talking about in early next year, you'll be able to watch me record the news live.
We are considering letting people come into the studio to watch Tom film WDW News Today.
We're talking about
there are some little hurdles we got to overcome. Number one, getting Tom to commit to showing up at a specific time is not always easy.
And the other thing is we work in news, right? I'm sorry, I'm probably still covered in Reese's. We work in news, right? And some, no news week is the same as others, right? Sometimes things are very busy, sometimes things are not. And that'll dictate how long news today is, how short news today is. Sometimes we kind of wait, right? There's definitely been Fridays where I go to Jake, I'm like, we're going to record at 11 a.m. And it's like, Jake, I don't really have anything here. Maybe I think it's actually been some Mondays now I'm thinking about it, where I'm like, let's give them another hour or two because I don't have like a whole lot here.
There's a lot of balls in the air. It sounds really simple, like, hey, we're just going to do a news show every 3 times a week. But we have video editors, and it depends on when they're going to be available to edit. Yeah. What other important breaking things are they editing at that time, or what's happening in the news? Does Tom have to be in a park eating some new food for us, or whatever he's doing, watching a new show?
Of a planter,
taking pictures of a planter with unfortunate parallels in design.
Leave the jokes for news tonight.
Yeah. So, anyway, Walt rolling over in his grave. We just took
because of Reese's big cups with caramel.
Oh, no, stop. You're getting us back off track, and one person in comments is going to get mad.
All he wanted to do was drink a martini, smoke a cigarette, and eat a Reese's tree. They definitely existed in his
He didn't
lifetime.
drink martinis. His drink was the Scotch Mist. Remember, they gave that to us in Marceline.
That doesn't mean he only drank Scotch Mist.
I know, but no, you're supposed to pretend that Walt only did certain things, and he did them all the time.
They also went on a 40-minute tangent about bread.
Remember every day the Sherman Brothers would come and play for him at the end of the day, and he'd say that's what it's all about when they'd play Feed the Birds. Yeah, that every day. That's what the internet
Rob
says.
Come in and play Spike the Bee every day.
Oh, boy. And you say that's what it's all about.
Play my song. Spike the Bee. Never mind.
Let's talk about alcohol in Disney parks. What do you say?
We usually do.
This should get people amped up.
Yeah.
So the conventional thought is that Walt didn't want any alcohol at Disneyland.
Yeah.
Therefore, he must not want it in any park that has a castle. People made that part up. It is true that he had quotes about alcohol in Disneyland. He was quoted Saturday Evening Post at one point, quoted him saying, "No liquor, no beer, nothing, because that brings in a rowdy element. That brings people that we don't want and I feel don't need. I feel they don't need. I feel when I go down to the park, I don't need a drink. After I come out of a heavy day at the studio, sometimes I want a drink to relax. I work around the place all day, and I don't have one, though." So
Not to call Walt a hypocrite, but Walt had an apartment in Disneyland. There was definitely a bar in it.
that's true.
So Walt, I love you, but
Well, that's the thing is people have enshrined these words in stone as if nobody ever evolved and changed. And Walt would be the first to evolve and change. Keep in mind, when Disneyland opened, he also didn't want chewing gum, cotton candy, peanuts, or ice cream bars.
Yeah.
As they sickied and dirtied up the place.
Yeah.
They had a dress and appearance code excluding yuppies with long hair and people with visible tattoos for a time. Keep in mind, they also had a tobacco shop, which is decidedly more taboo now than it was back then, where I think alcohol was a little more taboo then than it is now because there were generations that had lived through Prohibition that were still
1955 is not terribly far removed from that time, right?
it would make sense. Also, Walt did approve alcohol at Club 33. So what Walt wanted was
his apartment.
essentially no alcohol for the public, but only within the berm. Because they had, what was it? Let's see. Holiday, was it called Holidayland? Yeah. He had an entirely different attitude about Holidayland. The rentable recreation and picnic facility accessed in Disneyland's first decade by its own parking lot entrance. It was catered by the park's Red Wagon Inn. Event rentals and picnic lunches were hosted in Holidayland, came with bottomless beer. So right there outside the gate, they're serving bottomless beer to people. I don't think that this is Walt was a teetotaler so much as he didn't want the liquor to be the attraction, right? And in those days, I think he also wanted to broaden the appeal because he had financial need to expand his appeal, and that would include those kind of people that didn't want alcohol because they could go anywhere and see alcohol. So they figured this is something new that will interest people, and he had a business interest in trying to appeal to some of these people that maybe had come up in the Prohibition age and did not drink.
Here's what I think happened, right? Like he decided immediately he wanted a park and it would be different in every way from what he didn't like about amusement parks of the time, right?
Right.
And so amusement parks of the time were, what were they? They weren't themed. They were dirty. The people that worked there weren't particularly nice. People were drunk. Like, all of those things. He's like, my park will be different, right? That's what he told his wife. My park will be different. And so it wasn't that Walt Disney was morally against the existence of alcohol. He was trying to find all the ways that the park would be this fairy tale, right? How do you create a world that is spotless and friendly and does not carry any of the, any of those distinctions of an amusement park or amusement pier of 1955, right? So alcohol gets lumped in there because it's part of the things that are the problem at those parks. Right? If you also didn't want Ferris wheels.
Walt was also self-aware.
Yeah.
Walt was aware that he had assumed this cult of personality that was a little bit beyond who he was as a human being.
Yeah.
And he was quoted saying to a friend something like, Walt Disney doesn't smoke, I smoke. Walt Disney doesn't drink, I drink. Like he was aware that people were holding him as this character of an uncle, and in many cases had expectations of him that might be above and beyond what his own expectations in life.
You are the king of family entertainment, right? So there's an expectation.
Right. There was also, when Disneyland opened, it's worth mentioning, a store on Main Street that sold women's unmentionables.
Yeah, the
Wizard of Bras.
Yeah.
They had a bra store on Main Street, USA when they opened. It was, I think they got evicted after about 6 months, but it did exist. So they're selling tobacco and bras. Let's not pretend that Walt's objections to alcohol in the parks were purely moral. And let's not pretend that he would have the
bra
same.
Immoral? It serves a function.
No, but I don't think that drinking is immoral either.
Yeah.
But I think in general, like it could be perceived as scandalous to sell women's intimates in a theme park for families, right? And
They were stores, right? There wasn't an age where they're like, we'll fill all these stores with Spirit jerseys and Crocs, and like that all didn't exist. Like there was some Disney merchandise, but it wasn't. They didn't have stores and stores and stores of merchandise
tenant, right?
to sell.
Just a tenant.
There was rentable mall space essentially on Main Street. Yeah.
I wonder today if at Disney Springs they would accept Victoria's Secret. I don't know.
I'm sure they would.
I think they would. Yeah. And
I don't think they'd be allowed to put the usual ads up. But
times change, right? And I think Walt actually changed with times. So he might very well have approved, if he were alive today, of alcohol in the parks. We don't really know. We can't apply it.
How could you have possibly done Epcot without alcohol? All these countries where alcohol is not stigmatized, right? How could you have had a French pavilion where you couldn't serve wine? No French restaurateur in a million years would have come and done business with you if they couldn't serve wine. Right?
Beer is important in German culture, right? Kids. I had friends that were German that were like, hey, I was getting sips of beer at the table from my dad when I was, 7, 8 years old. It's part of it, right? You have the UK, obviously.
Yeah.
That alcohol is important to the way that they get together socially. So, Epcot, obviously, not that Epcot is congruent with Walt's original vision for Epcot anyway.
And it also wasn't, the other thing you have to remember, like everyone now will talk about Epcot, it's a drinking park. That wasn't how it started, right? Like, all these bars existed, but people didn't overdo it. People didn't come there with the idea, I'm going to go get drunk at Epcot. That's something that happened as the world, ruined itself. we decided to make it that.
But we operate a news website, and we inevitably get hundreds or thousands of comments on Twitter, Facebook, on, just on the website in general. And whenever there's an incident, someone got in a fight, someone stole something, someone fell down, somebody got off of a ride. Inevitably, 10% of the comments are like, this is because alcohol. They're automatically assuming the person or people were drunk. A lot of these fights, look, a family brawling outside Peter Pan's flight or PhilharMagic, in Fantasyland, I doubt that whole family is brawling because of alcohol.
No,
in fact, it's very hard to get alcohol. It's very expensive and difficult to access alcohol in the Magic Kingdom, right? Because while they've added it, you have to go into a table service restaurant, some of them with very difficult reservations to get, and spend a lot of money.
No one's coming out of those table service restaurants sloshed.
They might. I mean, when they get the bill, maybe. You might go add a couple of beers to this, but in general, drunkenness is not an issue at the Magic Kingdom.
I think they need to outlaw humidity. I think a lot of the fights are because of humidity. People are hot and miserable all day, and then they're that makes them,
I think also just kind of culture. Well, number one, obviously everyone's got a camera and access to the internet in their pockets. All this makes it, but also I think we are currently at a stage in our society when everyone's on edge and assumes the worst about everyone else around them. So I think, that might contribute to this more than alcohol. Now, look, there have been episodes that undeniably involved alcohol that we've reported on, usually at Epcot.
The Jersey Brothers.
Yeah. Well, no, I don't know about the Jersey Brothers.
They said they were playing.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking of the people who was brawling on the ferry boat. There were brothers brawling on a ferry boat too. I don't remember.
Maybe. Yeah.
There's been all these kind of things, but But, there's also like, look, the guy at Disneyland that stripped down, you can come up with a million different explanations for what he did. And just as feasible is that he suffers from some kind of mental health problem, or he was doing illicit drugs, or someone paid him a lot of money to do it. What, the guy that jumped into the World Showcase Lagoon allegedly got paid $6,000 to do it?
Did it for money. He wasn't drunk.
He may have been drunk too. But
I think he made a conscious decision.
Right, he made a conscious decision to make $6,000.
I think if he was sober, he still would have done it.
Yeah.
That guy didn't care about not being welcomed back at Disney World.
Yeah, but there's a segment of our society that likes to blame alcohol for
sure,
everything. Or they blame, anyone they don't like, they lump into a group and blame them for the decline of civilization. Yeah. So that is going on for sure. But I think definitely I get a lot of Walt's rolling over in his grave now. And I would challenge you to say, prove that Walt didn't. Look, there's a story, by the way. There are a couple stories about Walt partying a lot. And they tell one on the, I don't know if they still do, but I took in 2008, something like that. I took the Walk in Walt's Footsteps tour at Disneyland. Mm-hmm. And so what they tell is a story of Walt and Lillian's 30th anniversary party. It took place shortly before Disneyland opened. Mm-hmm. Everyone's hammered.
Yeah.
Right? They're drinking mint juleps on the Mark Twain. They go into Diamond Horseshoe for the first performance of the Diamond Horseshoe Revue before it was open to the public. Walt's having a raucous time. He's dancing, which he rarely did. He had taken dance lessons to surprise his wife. This is the way the story's told. But his behavior concerned her. I guess he stepped over a line a few times that night. And she said, for our next anniversary, you better get me a big rock. And that's why there's the giant petrified rock out in front of the Golden Horseshoe, or the petrified tree. Yeah, in front. That he bought that as a joke to her, saying, "Next anniversary, you get me a rock."
And then she gave it to him for the park. That's a real thing. Yeah, no, that's the real story.
Yeah,
that's absolutely the real story.
That did happen. There's also a legendary party that took place in 1938 after Snow White had become a big success. So when Snow White came out, it was a gigantic success. Yeah. It really made the studio, There's
also a gigantic risk.
Yeah, huge risk, huge success. So Walt decides we're going to have a big, they call it Walt's Field Day, I think. And they went to some resort out in the California desert somewhere. Yeah. And keep in mind, these animators are young. They've, been working 7 days a week.
For 3 or 4 years.
For several years to get this movie out. And they get out there, and there's rumors. Hey, there are a couple ways that this story goes. One of them is they all think there's a rumor that Walt is going to take all these excess profits and give everyone a 20% cut of it as a bonus, and these people are set to get thousands of dollars. Instead, what they're getting is a weekend of Uncle Walt saying, "Hey, we're going to cover your horseback riding fees at this resort," and people were mad. Either way, people got out of control, drunk and wasted. Yeah. Beer was, I don't know, 15 cents or something like that, and people raged out. And it was like a legendary party. Yeah. Some of these guys, man, some of these old keep in mind, this is a different time. The animation department was segregated at the time, and I don't mean racially, right? Yeah. Racially, they didn't have full-time animators on staff until the 60s. It's segregated. Basically, women worked in ink and paint. Yeah. The men worked as primary artists and fill-in artists and camera operators, and they were supposed to not fraternize, and of course they did, including one legendary animator who there was a 14-year-old girl who was basically hired to be the model for Snow White. She was a dancer, and a couple years later, he ended up marrying her. When I think she was 17 and he was 30 or something like that. But that did happen, right? Some of these affairs.
Walt married one of his ink and paint girls?
That is absolutely true. Lillian was an ink and paint girl. So,
and that didn't stop later in their years. I mean, I've heard stories of the Imagineering days in the 60s. I mean, it was the 60s, right? They were creatives in Los Angeles in the 60s. Do you think they didn't party? Do you think they didn't do drugs? Do you think they didn't drink?
Yeah.
And profusely. And there are things well beyond those things they did. Rumor has it.
So what the public has made up, though, is that Walt didn't want it in any castle park. Walt never said this.
No. He didn't know there'd ever be a different kind of
He's not
park.
okay, when we build Tokyo Disneyland, I don't want out.
He turned them down 15 times.
Yeah. So this is just something that's taken on a life of its own.
Yeah.
This assertion is arbitrary by
to
Disney.
that credit, though, Disney made that a thing, right? Disney opened a second park in Florida, and there was still no alcohol. Disney opened a park in Tokyo. There was no alcohol. Now there is. They opened a fourth park, a fourth castle park, and they opened it without alcohol
in France.
Very quickly. Had
people
to
hit the roof.
change that, yeah, because they realized immediately they're like, no one understands why they can't have wine with food. This is like a basic life requirement for everyone in this continent.
At the time, also, it was Disney had a PR nightmare on their hands in France, right? Because there was a big backlash to them building a park at all. I think it was referred to as like cultural Chernobyl, right? There were writers openly saying, I hope that people burn the park down, all this kind of stuff. And then to open it and to seemingly not have the foresight to go, oh, these people in France might want to be able to drink champagne, in the park or whatever,
you have
or
wine.
wine.
When you eat. That's life in France. You have wine when you. What's amazing about that now? What I think is so funny is how many Coca-Colas you see on the tables in the table service restaurants now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wild. Like I felt self-conscious, right? When I went for the first time, obviously, I like wine. And I was in France. I want to have French wine. And so we did. Like every meal, we ordered some wine, right? And then I noticed I'd look over at tables and I'd be like, all these very European people, and they're at this American theme park and they're eating their nice dinner at a sit-down restaurant.
And drinking
They're having an ice-cold Coca-Cola. And I'm like, all right, so I guess over the years, like things have changed to where it's, and it's true. Like as a global community, we have become, the world has shrunk, right? And more we have adopted things from each other and normalized things from other cultures, right? And so it's just funny how in 1992 there was such an uproar, but now like the people that lived in 1992, if you put them in a time machine and took them to Disneyland Paris today, they'd look and see like their fellow countrymen drinking Coke at the table, and they'd be so furious. But it's no one bats an eye at it. It's not a thing.
We can't talk about Walt rolling over without talking about politics, because anybody who disagrees with anything else has to say that Walt is rolling over.
Here we go.
And I think it's important to note that Walt was not one thing politically, right? He evolved. When he was young, he was like basically a socialist. In fact, what did I read?
What are you doing?
He started as an unenthusiastic socialist. His father was a big supporter of Eugene Debs. He drew some political cartoons for a socialist newspaper at one point. He became liberal and voted for FDR twice. And later in life, he became a Republican. He made more money. No, but I say that the norms of the parties have always shifted, right?
That's true. The parties have
Walt was alive during the Depression, when people had different concerns on their mind than they did during something like World War II, right? So I can see where a person could shift the way that they think about these things politically, and really I admire anybody who's willing to constantly re-examine their political beliefs and see where they stand and challenge themselves. And it sounds like he did that. In fact, he did. Disney made the I Like Ike cartoons for Eisenhower. So he was, in that sense, he was pretty political. Mm-hmm. They got involved in there. He wore a button. He showed up wearing a
you have to
Barry Goldwater button,
especially for the younger people in the audience. This is going to sound crazy because you're going to be like, "Oh man, if they did that today, oh my god!" But it wasn't like that back then. Like it was expected back then that you had a political alliance, and no one really probably hated you for liking the other candidate. It was a very different time.
That has become a totally different thing, right?
Yeah.
Where it's not just party.
I just want to clarify because that might sound crazy to people, but the truth is, like, no one generally was ready to start a war with you because you liked the other candidate or were part of another political party. Unless it was an extremist party.
Decorum has changed, right? So everyone has access to this platform where they can say whatever they want and yell and scream. And really, you can even form your own opinions. You can, how do you say it? You don't have to research things. You can just go conclusion shopping, because somewhere, if you and I disagree on an issue, I can find someone with really good credentials that proves that you're wrong, and you can find someone with really good credentials that proves that I'm wrong. Yeah. So all I have to do is shop for the conclusion that I've already predetermined in my head to fight with yours. Yeah. Right? So things have changed in that respect. And decorum, someone was saying, the decorum has declined to an all-time low. I guess a couple weeks ago, some senator, I don't know party affiliation, a senator on the in like a hearing challenged the president of the Teamsters to a fist fight during a hearing. And people are like, oh, that's bad decorum. I'm like, I went to high school in this town called Brooksville, Florida, right? A long time, like the 1860s, there was arguments about slavery and all these kinds of things, and people vehemently disagreed on these things. Somebody said something bad against a guy named Sumner, and his nephew was a guy named Preston Brooks. Or maybe it was the guy with Sumner. Either way, this guy Preston Brooks didn't like what one of the other senators had to say, and he beat him with a cane on the floor of the Senate to like near death, like ruined his life. Like he was not the same after this, and because people agreed with this guy's point of view on an issue, which at the time was slavery, they celebrated what he did. Yeah. In fact, they named the town Brooksville, Florida, after this guy, Preston Brooks, for beating someone to within an inch of his life on the Senate floor. So that is not new lack of decorum in government. Yeah. But I say the way we do politics. Look, Disney got into a political problem.
But I would say in Walt's lifetime, it was, I think, way less politically
charged. A little more
charged.
collegial.
Right, like the era you're talking about, very politically charged. I think during Walt's time, probably an era where people were a little calmer about it.
But the way Disney got into this, I don't want to get too deep into this type of stuff, but the way they got into their conundrum is, like any very large company, they spread their money around.
Yeah.
Hey, here's a few bucks for you.
Yeah.
Here's a few bucks for you. Yeah. And that money knows no political ideology, right? That money just buys access to people, essentially.
Yeah.
Right? Like, let's not pretend that political power is not for sale.
Yeah.
And so in this case, this is under Bob. Well, I don't know if this was under Bob Chapek, but it came to light under Bob Chapek. Yeah. They basically, among all the people they donated to, had donated to 3 people who had sponsored this bill that caused all the controversy in Florida. Now, forget the fact that they had also donated money, I'm sure, to all their opponents. They have bad press, and we had at the time Bob Chapek, who, we'll say what you want about Bob Iger, because there's plenty of valid criticism of Bob Iger, but he's decidedly more savvy with stuff like that than Bob Chapek.
Knows what to say.
Bob Chapek was not savvy, and he dug a deeper hole, and it's caused a big rift. And like I said, Walt was political, but I don't think it was as inflammatory back then. I don't think, and you don't have this microphone or the internet and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But I would say if you just Google the term like Walt is rolling over in his grave, most of the articles are about politics.
Yeah.
But if you look just specifically in the Disney community, that is not the case.
Yeah.
Right? The Disney community is all willing to mostly overlook these kind of things and talk about quality and talk about hey, here's one. Live action remakes of animated classics. That certainly has a lot of people saying Walt would be rolling over in his grave.
So he did famously say you can't top pigs with pigs, right? When people asked if he was going to do sequels to the 3 Little Pigs, right? If he was going to do more shorts, they did. But no, it wasn't a thing he was in favor of. It certainly wasn't. That being said, like the whole movie industry changed, right? And they became very sequel driven and. Certainly you're a publicly traded company, right? If you don't make Frozen 2, I probably don't want you as CEO, right? Like that movie made how much money? Like, I might press you to, I want it to be good. Like, if you're going to make sequels, they better be amazing. But I don't know that we do that, but think about a world.
They operate within the norms of their time, though, right?
Yeah.
The norms of our time are, if you make a successful movie, the number one way to get people to back the next one is to make look, Godfather. They want Godfather 2, right?
Yeah.
You make, unfortunately, Jaws is great, and then unfortunately someone makes Jaws 2,
or 3.
The worst one, probably the worst example I can think of is The Exorcist 2, maybe the worst movie I've ever seen.
That movie.
No,
it has a cult following.
But it has a cult following because it's bad.
But people like the lore. The lore has carried on.
Do people like Hocus Pocus because it's great film, or they like it because it's a little campy and a little hokey
they
and
like
it reminds
because
them
it was
of
played on Disney Channel constantly,
Right.
and they watched it 17 times when they were a kid. Yeah.
Right. Like, don't get mad at me in the comments. I've never seen Hocus Pocus. This is what I'm told.
You've never seen Hocus Pocus?
I've seen like very small bits and pieces.
It's fine.
Yeah,
It works really well for theme park stuff. I like it as theme park fodder.
Yeah.
I don't. It's not a movie I feel the need to watch every year or even
No.
often, but I get it.
Yeah. I recommend you watch The Exorcist 2 with a critical eye and not tell me it's just terrible.
It's not good, but I think people really like the lore, and the lore has carried on into the other Exorcist movies. So,
I was excited to see the new one, and then the reviews were so bad I didn't watch it.
yeah.
Am I a bad person? I don't know. Maybe. I went to the haunted house. It was okay.
Yeah, it was fine.
Smelled just a little bit like that sauce that we
like
had.
the pickle. The something pickle.
Something pickle sauce.
Was it pickle? I forget what it's called.
I know, but also, in addition to being live action remake, you invite more criticism when you start changing source material like they're doing with the Snow White movie, right? Where they kind of change things to fit cultural norms.
But then backtrack because the whole world told them this is stupid.
Right. That's work, right? Mr. Miyagi said you can walk down the left side of the street and you'll be fine. You can walk down the right side of the street and be fine, but you walk down the middle, you're going to get hit by a truck.
Yeah.
But he said it in like a way that's way cooler than I could say. So,
the Snow White thing is.
the Snow White thing. Look, and then other criticism I have. So Snow White, they changed a lot of things that made people mad. Little Mermaid, I just felt like they made this actress the center of the controversy, which was unfair because I felt like she was good. I thought the movie was horrible, but I thought
was bad.
I just don't like. I think they did flounder dirty in this movie.
Yeah.
I think I don't like the look of the movie, but she was phenomenal.
Yeah, these CG. We have a whole separate conversation about how bad the CGI has gotten. Right, like none of these live action Disney movies are pretty, except for like the two that they made Jon Favreau do. Right.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're kind of ugly looking.
Well, if you watch Lion King, it's just basically like they didn't stray an iota from the original source material. So it's just it's like it's almost worse.
Jungle Book's the only one I like.
Yeah, I haven't seen that one.
It's good.
It's good.
Yeah, I like it.
Was Cinderella bad? It's good. I don't know.
Cinderella and Beauty and the Beast both fall under inoffensive for me. Like it was an entertaining hour and a half, and I didn't love it. I didn't hate it.
I saw Beauty and the Beast. I felt like Emma. I like Emma Watson. I think she's talented. I don't think she's a good singer.
No.
I like Russell Crowe. I saw the Les Mis live thing, and he was just horrible. I like Mamma Mia, and I like Pierce Brosnan, but my God, he was horrible in the movie Mamma Mia. I saw the stage show Mamma Mia is great.
I love Pierce Brosnan and oh my God.
But his singing.
You know, it's so bad. That's what's
it makes you feel better about your Randy Newman
it's
stuff.
So great.
These are not Disney movies, but also.
Well, Randy Newman's also meant to be a joke, but.
I know.
Anyway.
But also, it makes you feel better about your singing, right?
And they've told, and I think the public has told them at this point. Well, in some cases, right, Mermaid made a lot of money. And I think she was a great singer. I think she did a great job. I think there were other great people. Melissa McCarthy, everyone like rips her apart. She did great, right? And I went in like everyone else, ready to be like, she's going to ham it up, and it's going to be terrible, and it's going to be awful. And I was like, as Ursula, she did a pretty good job.
I didn't finish. I heard they don't kill her. Is that true? They don't kill her off?
I'm not going to spoil the movie.
I mean, I know how the original ends.
Yeah, well, then you got to watch the movie. I'm not
Also, even the ride at Disney World, you just see Ursula off in the distance.
No, that's not it. It's.
They don't stab her in the heart with a ship.
Yeah, that was that weird period where they were like, people don't want to see the. It's still kind of going on where they do these dark rides where it's like people don't want to see the bad part, and they did that. That's my only gripe with. I mean, Enchanted Tale of Beauty and the Beast at Tokyo Disneyland is incredible, but like they do the kill the beast part, and it's very short and abrupt, and then it's gone. It's like, well, the villains don't exist. It's like, well, we'll mention this happened because it gets us to the point where the beast is lying there dead, and we
maybe
have
they cancel the beast.
Yeah,
cancel.
Wow.
What are the odds then that they could set up for a like they did Maleficent? We talked about it, right? Where they take the villains and there's going to be an Ursula movie. It's just like you see this Ursula who's this like nice creature growing up, and then people are mean to her.
Yeah.
Maybe they bully her because she's purple.
Yeah.
And
that's what they did with Maleficent, right? Where the
Right.
King Stefan's a piece of garbage, right?
Yeah.
He's an awful human. They make him the worst human being to ever live. And then you're like, oh, yeah, she should be evil. He's nasty. Like, yeah, screw that guy's life off.
you never know. We got to keep doing it with these villains. I bet there's gonna. I propose
I think
an
he
Ursula
would.
movie.
I think there's some of them where I think the fact that they made a shot for shot of a movie that was released 20 years previous,
Mm-hmm.
I'm on board with Walt rolling in his grave for that one. That would make sense to me.
Yeah.
I think he would be like, you literally made the same movie again and made people pay to see a thing they've already seen. Like, how dare you? He would absolutely be livid. Yeah.
When you talk about people paying, I have a bullet point in here called prices down at the bottom. Walt would be rolling in his grave at the prices, or he'd be very excited. I don't know which.
I think if the product was better, he'd be excited. If people like actively were like, "Yeah, this is worth every penny."
I've seen criticism on our articles and wherever else it may come up about Walt. Hey, he's this rich guy too. He made all this money. He's one of the most famous people in the world. He had, But what I'll say is Walt was constantly searching out sources of funding to, sponsors for rides, whatever, because the future of the company was kind of at stake all the time.
Yeah.
And all the dreams that he wanted to make into reality cost a lot of money. So Roy's the guy that's out there hustling and finding ways to do this thing, and Walt is the guy coming up with all these ideas. I think in comparison to today's wealthiest people, even adjusted for inflation and everything else, he is not. He was not making thousands of times more than his employees.
No, what would the? I'm going to get this fact wrong, but they were talking about what Roy Disney made at the end of his tenure in '71, and it was only 3 or 4 times what the lowest employee made. It wasn't a lot. Maybe it might have been even like 8.
Look,
but
they
it wasn't astronomical.
I'm sure they had plenty of money in terms of stock interest in a company that was constantly increasing in value. I read something where Walt's grandkids, not Diane's kids, but Sharon? Is that one of his daughters? She had 2 twins, right? And she passed away, and she left let's just say, I think it was $300 million. But there were all these little caveats to this, right? They had to demonstrate that they could use money responsibly. They had to demonstrate, through their life up to that point to do this.
This is the premise of Brewster's Millions.
Yeah, right. So one of them, I think is the son. They're determined, no, he doesn't meet the criteria. I don't know if it's because he's just out spending money like a madman and living that crazy life, or if they didn't trust him because he was unpredictable. But I don't know what ended up happening. But at one point, I remember that happening where they're like, "Hey, he is not qualified to inherit his portion of this $300 million." So that doesn't really tie into anything we're talking about.
Yeah.
Except I want to say on opening day, a ticket to Disneyland was $1, right? And then the tickets for rides, individual rides. So that was to get in the gate. For kids, it was 10 cents. For adults, it was, I think, maybe 25 cents, 23 cents, something like that. So if you adjusted this for 2023, it would cost you $11 to get into Walt Disney World, and it cost a kid like $1, between $1 and $1.25 to go on a ride. It costs an adult maybe twice that. So obviously, today's ticket prices, they surge upwards of $150. Genie Plus alone can cost over $30 a person. I think it's worth talking about. Would Walt be rolling over in his grave at what it costs? Have we priced out, this American family that he dreamed of providing this stuff for?
Maybe, but the other side of it is no one knew what to price this at, right?
Right.
This didn't exist. So amusement parks existed. So you could similarly price to an amusement park. But I think over time they realized what we do is different. And also I think the other thing that happened is entertainment prices in general changed a lot, right?
Yeah.
So movie theaters, right? How much more are movie theaters than they used to be? Even adjusted for inflation, they're over it. And the same thing can be said for every other thing you want to talk about. To a baseball, football, any major sporting event, right?
I don't think that any of them are affordable for an average
No.
person. No, the cost to go to an NFL game is absurd. You want to go see? I mean, obviously, like Taylor Swift concert, these tickets were going for thousands of dollars or whatever. Mostly secondary market because a bot can scoop up a bunch of tickets and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But in general, like you go to a concert. I think I wanted to take Lee. Lee wanted to see Pink. Right, so I looked. Pink was coming to Tampa or something. I think it was like for just kind of average, middle of the road seats. It was, let's say $500 to $700.
Yeah,
and then you're looking at Ticketmaster fees, which are hard to avoid. Are crazy. They've inserted themselves as this unnecessary middleman, and you can't get around it. People can't get around.
I highly recommend if you want a quick recap of the Ticketmaster psychosis. John Oliver. Last week tonight, they did a whole episode on that.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I know John Oliver takes very big topics and they make it into a very short thing, and people think they're experts on the topic then. But I think if you want a quick recap of the problems of the music ticket industry, concert ticket industry, John Oliver.
Well, and I don't pretend to understand the music business, but what I've been told basically is, back in the day, you could sell a million records and become very wealthy as an artist. There's millions of records, you become very wealthy, and now you have to tour to make money.
Yeah.
Right? The record companies have sucked all that revenue out, and now you get a play on Spotify, and it's worth, I don't know, a thousandth of a cent or something like that. So they have to tour to do this, and the ticket costs then are very expensive. NFL, obviously, you want to get season tickets for your favorite team. If you have a new stadium, you probably have to buy a personal seating license, which is just the right that you own to buy tickets to events at that stadium. Then you have to buy the tickets on top of that. Parking at some of these NFL stadiums is $75, $100. A beer is $15. I mean, it's not cheap to be entertained anymore. And the caveat is, you could be entertained very cheap at home if you want to watch. You want to stream this stuff. You want to stream the NFL. I can get every NFL game on Sunday Ticket for $300 a year or something like that. That's not cheap, but that's certainly cheaper than going to one NFL game. And but entertainment is expensive now. But I think back then, first of all, this pricing, the $1 to get in, I think it stuck around for a long time.
Yeah.
In fact, when I first went to Disneyland in the 70s with my family, I was only 2 years old. I think my dad said it was like $7 or something like that for a ticket. They were very slow to raise prices. Now they raise prices like clockwork every year.
Yeah.
I think they raised annual pass prices twice in a year, maybe recently.
Yeah.
They are very aggressive with this, and it's because, to me, and we can dovetail this into the next bullet point, which is kind of creativity and imagination. Their innovation seems to have been in using data to justify raising prices and manipulate money out of people. Instead of telling me better stories, they're using their innovation to come up with new ways to shake more money out of me.
As a great former Imagineer said during the Bob Chapek administration, innovation is not raising the price of a hot dog.
Right, but it kind of is, right? Because I guarantee you that they have the means and knowledge to dynamically price that hot dog and be like, actually, hot dog on a Saturday at 2 p.m. is going to cost $7.90, and on Sunday it's going to cost $12. Right? They can do that. They do that with tickets. They could do that with everything. And unfortunately, that's the world that we live in. Not everybody decides just because you have this information that you should use it. Some people still act in good faith with their customers. I understand there are cases when it makes sense to. I watched a guy, and basically they were talking about price gouging. And there are times when price gouging almost is good for people. And I don't want to justify price gouging, but the example he gave is he's like, let's say you have to evacuate because there's a hurricane coming. And you go up to Georgia, and there's a hotel, and it's $100. right? So you're like, well, I got my wife with me. We'll get one room. We'll get another room for the kids. My in-laws are with us. We'll get another room for them.
Yeah.
It's $300. What's the big deal? He goes, and then, the society might be better served by you go up the road and they charge $300 for a room, and you got to make an economic choice whether you're going to do this so that other people have a place to stay.
Yeah.
That sounds a little kind of not socialist, but it's price, price fixing and price gouging are two kind of different things. But you don't want the government setting the price of a hotel. But he made a point, right? And I think the point, Disney's like, hey, look, everyone's going to buy Disney Plus. You're not going to get a leg up on anyone. We're going to dynamically price it up to $31. Except the difference is they know that everyone's going to buy it anyway.
Yeah.
Right? They know how many people are going to buy it.
Yeah.
When they set the price of it, they know they're going to sell out. What is the maximum amount of money I can extract from you? What did I call it?
Disney Plus.
Yeah, Genie
I was
Plus.
confused for a second. I was like,
Genie Plus. I'm sorry.
I was like, how much am I paying for Disney Plus?
It's a long day. It's Friday.
Here's the thing. Look, there are some things where I don't know. It's very hard to speculate such a thing. I think there are ideas, right? I don't know about pricing and things like that, but I think ideas that ways that they came up with to squeeze people, right? Those are the things I think he'd have a problem with, right? Like admission prices, things like that, were going to exist no matter what. We could argue all day if he'd be happy with the admission price or not. We don't know, and it's very hard based on historical evidence.
Time out. Inevitably, when there's a price increase, another comment, the commenter on our site or social media is, that's why I go to Universal. And I will tell you, Universal will be right ahead of them, in step with them, or right behind them on any price increase.
Every year they always, the single day tickets, they always match. Universal is not cheaper. It never has been. So you look really stupid when you say that. So please don't. We try to teach you things here at WWNT. Otherwise, you become food blog commenters. We don't want that. But I think dessert parties, paying for Fast Pass, paying for parade viewing, those are the things I think there is no doubt he would be upset with, right? Where you have the haves and the have-nots.
Stratification of the guest experience.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and even playing field where everyone gets a park ticket, and then everyone has bought the same park ticket and has the same rules apply to them with that park ticket, I think is the way he rolled. I don't think he would have been big on, well, then you could start adding things that make you the better guest. I don't think in a million years he would have been okay with that.
Yeah, I agree. And we've increasingly seen this stratification of the guest experience to the point of frustration, right? Yeah. It's annoying. We see it in airlines. We see it everywhere now where you get a check bag, but you don't get a carry-on.
Doesn't make it right that Disney does it, but everyone does it.
Well, when you talk about baggage, it's like, okay, it makes sense. If you and I are both customers of some airline, and I'm not bringing anything with me but myself, and you're bringing 50 pounds of luggage, it has more cost. Yeah. But that's not how they do it.
But the fact that you're like, we're going to push the economy seats closer together, and then you could give us money then there's these seats where there's more leg room, or you could lay flat.
Right.
Give me $5,000 and you could sleep flat on this airplane.
But a lot of these, like you fly Spirit, for instance, if you fly Spirit, it's cheaper to check a bag than it is to have a carry-on. That makes no sense because when I check a bag, someone has to take that bag and put it somewhere, and that bag is almost always going to be heavier than a carry-on. Yeah. So what they're charging you for is that you just get to do something more convenient, which is have your own bag. There's not, if they fit in a thing, the plane's designed to handle a certain amount of carry-on baggage. Yeah. They actually have more direct cost to the airline to give you a check bag, but that's cheaper because they want to gouge you for, everyone likes it more when they don't have to depend on someone else to not lose their stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the kind of BS things that I hate to see. Mm-hmm. And like I said, it's everywhere. And now the newer ideas in the last 10 years are turn everything into a subscription, right? That's why streaming is a big deal. But hey, I don't want to go to the store and buy razor blades, which are a racket, by the way. I want to subscribe to a place that sends me razor blades once a month, because it looks cheaper, and they are happy because they can predict their recurring monthly revenue and project their growth and all that kind of stuff. So all these people thought, these kids just graduate in business school are really smart, and all they're doing is taking things that you used to do and turning it into a subscription. Yeah. There's what's the place that's like athleisure wear? not Lululemon, Fabletics.
Yeah.
Fabletics, I found out, I don't know anything about this vertical, but Lee sure knows a lot of,
Yeah.
she's into the Athleta and Lululemon, and she's like, I don't do Fabletics. And they advertise these prices, but to get that price, you have to subscribe.
Yeah.
And then it's like the old record thing when they send you every month.
Oh,
and
the
you,
90 get this for a penny.
Yeah.
6 CDs for a penny.
Yeah. So that it's like that kind of, but so it's really not a new innovative business model at all. You're actually taking something very old that everyone hated and just kind of, dressing it up as something it's not. So I think I described the Fabletics business model correctly. If not, please do your own research and don't count on me because I'm not an expert on yoga pants.
And what is the Sensi thing? They're a pyramid scheme, or are they like that?
So people in the comments say that Sensi is a pyramid scheme. I think I don't know anything about their business model.
Or is it just land or what's the thing I'm thinking of that people sell? Avon.
Yeah, so the idea then, I think multi-level marketing is what you're talking about. And the value isn't in me selling products. The value is in me selling you on also selling these products.
Yeah.
Right? So then essentially if I'm doing that, I am the product, right?
Yeah.
I am what you're trying to sell.
Yeah.
You're trying to sell me on being under you and hoping that I'll put people under me. Or, everybody wants people under them. Nobody cares if you buy this product because you buy the product, right? So you're not it's not like you're taking orders on behalf of Avon. You have a garage full of Avon crap. I don't know if Avon works this way, but a lot of these, you have a garage full of crap that you've bought, and you have to tell people, oh, this coffee makes you happy and feel better and lose weight. I know because I have $6,000 of it in my garage, and I got to get other people under me to try to sell this crap, right? Because right now I'm the customer. Right, you're not the customer. I would love for you to buy some, but I'm the sucker that bought it all, and I feel great because they made me President's Club because I convinced 3 people beneath me, to join, and I think that might be I don't know. Maybe someone in the WIGS comment can tell me what the Sensi business model, but I think that's what it is. I think that's some of the criticism that Disney started getting in the comments from partnering with Sensi is that it's a business that is built in a similar fashion.
Jake said he doesn't care if they're a pyramid scheme. He wants the Lilo and Stitch Sensi.
He wants the Lulu.
Some of their stuff looks cool, but I haven't bit on anything yet. I've left it all. I was like, I don't need to start buying.
I want the Halloween Horror Nights fog, but I found out that it's cheaper for me to buy the sauce at Eat. No.
Good grief.
Are they going to sell that? Like the sense of they're going to do the smells from different rides and stuff too, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
That's cool. I don't know. I don't even know if the wigs are still in here. I saw someone say it went down, but it was back. They're there. All right. Anyway, I think that's a big one, right? I think Walt would be shocked if he knew what percentage of a family's income it takes to come to the Disney parks now.
He'd probably be upset.
Yeah, I mean, I think he would be also excited. But I think he'd be excited because he'd say, I can use this money and do something really amazing with it. And what it's turned into is a bunch of people saying, I know how we can take this customer and split them. I know how we, a bunch of wolves, can split these sheep up and, each take our share and get rich. And these people are making the kind of money now that obviously Walt would stagger his mind, the kind of money that these Disney executives make.
Yeah.
So that's probably part of the deal. Oh, yeah. Jake said there's a haunted house scented cologne.
Of course there is.
Oh, very nice.
I think Piano Rob wears it. Just assume.
You wear it when you're stretching. That's great. All right, let's talk about
this is the one
things that are going to be important to you. Here's where Tom's going to go off.
So you
Imagineering and parks in general.
Yeah, you have lack of storytelling at the center, getting rid of classic attractions. He was a butcher, man.
Yeah.
But the thing was, whatever they did was always better, right? Like the guy, he had them build the Train of Tomorrow, the Viewliner. And then less than a year later, he's like, I saw a monorail. Get rid of this thing. They're like, we just opened it. And they threw the Viewliner away and did the monorail, but arguably a better idea came along, right? And that's the message we were always told, right? A better idea came along. Now it's not a better idea came along. Now it's usually like, this property sells a lot of merchandise. This property streamed this many times on Disney Plus this month.
Right.
That's how the decisions are made. It's not based on anything else, but those factors. And so we got rid of things that plenty of people liked. And there's some argument, not with things that were better necessarily, but also like Walt they updated things constantly, right? Like Walt opened the park in the 50s, and by the 60s was like, Mark Davis, come down from the studio. I want you to take a look at stuff. And then Mark came in, and all they did was they just added stuff to everything, right? Mine Train Through Nature's Wonderland. The Jungle Cruise, did not exist in 1955. It started existing in the 60s thanks to Mark Davis. They were like, we can take these attractions, and over time, as time changes, we can make them better. And that was always the thought, is what can we add that makes the ride better? And now it's not that, right? It's like, well, the Hatbox Ghost in Magic Kingdom was not added to make the ride better, right? The Hatbox Ghost they looked at a sheet and were like, well, what are the financial reasons to do this? And the financial reasons are, we all share merchandise, right? And so if you're selling a lot of the same merchandise that all has this character on it, no one in Florida knows who this character is. We suspect the merchandise sales for the merchandise featuring the Hatbox Ghost on it will be better at Walt Disney World if you add the Hatbox Ghost.
I see a bump in attendance, right? You add
Certainly possible, yeah. We can sell. Disneyland's developing. They have that sipper. They have the Hatbox Ghost sipper cup. We can sell that at this point, and we project our sales for that will be this high, right? There are all these reasons to add the Hatbox Ghost, as opposed to what used to happen, which is if you look at the 2007 update of the Haunted Mansion, or even that 2011, 2012 one. The 2007 update was the ride is in rough shape. It needs a lot of maintenance. And while we're down, why don't we add some new magic to it? But
Get
then
MC Escher on the phone.
And that new magic is like, what are the things what are the scenes that are kind of lacking in the Haunted Mansion? They're like, well, we have this staircase that never really got finished, and we just threw these big spiders on webs up there. We're like, we can come up with something for that. Sure. We have this attic scene with this faceless bride, and it's okay, but maybe with technology where it's come now, we could do something different there, right? The driving force was very different. It wasn't necessarily like just money. It is time to refurbish one of our most well-known attractions of all time. The right thing to do while we're down for this long is to make sure when people come back, the ride just doesn't look better, but there's a reason to be excited that the ride is back, right? Attendance is certainly part of that. You want to maintain the park so people come back.
Yeah.
But I don't think the driving force necessarily was just money when you do something.
Have you ever thought about this? Because there was a time, and this goes back to Walt, when you needed a sponsor for everything, right? I mean, there was a time when half of a park was sponsored by Coke and the other half was sponsored by Pepsi.
Walt didn't operate food.
Right.
They had all their food operations were Swift. It was a third-party organization.
It's still Walt's park. So, but these attractions and things. Haunted Mansion, no sponsor.
Yeah.
Pirates of the Caribbean, no sponsor. People Mover, Enterprise, I'll pick you up. Or Alamo or whatever. Tron, but I'm just looking now. You do all these things. I don't even remember I know Tron is Enterprise. I think People Mover is also Enterprise, but it's also Alamo because I think they're all the same.
It is.
Enterprise, National Alamo are the same company.
On
right?
it, yeah. So here's the thing, right? I don't know that necessarily these are ride sponsorships. I think Disney is so big now that everything is kind of corporate alliances. So that might be factored into the contract where as part of the money they ask for, you get an attraction, right? Because Sensi, right? Sensi got Dumbo, right?
Yeah.
That just happened. Part of the deal is like the Enterprise deal already existed. So I think they were like, we want to, we would like to be in on. When we do the contract, what do you have coming up? We want to sponsor them, or what are the existing rides you have? We would put our name on that. But I don't think it's like it used to be back then when they actually used to go and look for sponsors where it was something that specifically pushed their product in most cases, right? You look at Epcot, that's all Epcot was.
Yeah,
right?
Epcot was very
the point of the pavilion, but that's what a World's Fair was, and so they tried to do the Disney version of a World's Fair. It's like, if we're going to do a pavilion about energy, well, then a mega corporation that deals in energy needs to be involved. If we're going to do a pavilion about transportation, then one of the world's leading car manufacturers probably has to be involved. If we're doing an attraction about communication, a communication company probably has to be involved. And that's what happened with Epcot. It's a lot of reason why Disney decided to move away from all that. And Epcot was there like, well, it's getting real hard to work with these companies and convince them to do stuff. So we're just if we're gonna do it ourselves, then we're gonna promote our own products. You know what doesn't promote our own products? Education. So these rides are just going to be about our IP and selling merchandise, and that's what Epcot's about now. Which he would look. Yeah. I would say this with any amount of confidence. I know you've put a statue of Walt in that park where he is longingly looking out and proud of what has been accomplished at Epcot. He would be like, we can argue if he would have even liked what they did in 1982. Again, I don't know what my opinion is worth here. In 1982, I think he would have, like, if you brought him back from the dead and he walked into that park, the first 5 minutes he would have been livid. I think he would have been like, people don't live here. It's just a World's Fair. What did you do? And then I think he would have went on the rides and been like, wow, you have really elevated what we started doing with Pirates and Haunted Mansion. You have taken to a whole nother level. So I think he would have been really angry about what the finished product was compared to what he wanted. But I think then he would have at least seen what they were doing and been like, look at this. And now I think, without a doubt, he would now go in there and be like, well, at least in 82, someone tried to make me proud, and instead now what you've done is you've on my legacy.
Isn't it fair to say that they appropriated the name Epcot to create something that has nothing to do with what Walt's vision really was?
That's not true, because
there are elements of his vision, but his main driving
center.
His main driving vision was a place where people live and work, right?
Yeah, but a big part of it certainly was like the idea that by having this experimental community, you would have a place where ideas are exchanged and the leaders in industry could come together and the world could see what is on the cutting edge and what will be tomorrow. And they did accomplish that part. They couldn't accomplish the residential part. There was no question. But they at least tried to accomplish the rest of what
Is there footage of Walt actually saying he wanted Epcot to be a theme park?
No.
Yeah.
No, but he
wanted it to be a community.
He had an industrial center that had exhibits you rode through to learn about American industry. It was absolutely a thing.
But if Walt Disney walked in this room right now, it's like, oh, man, that was a long nap. What year is it? Oh, it's 2023, almost 2024. He goes, did they ever build Epcot? What are you going to tell him?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was the greatest theme park you've ever done.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with what you envisioned.
Yeah,
but they did build it.
But there was a spirit, right? It was at least dedicated to him, a man that was optimistic that the future could be better than the present, right? That's who he was. And the park that's there now does not. Instead of looking forward to what will communication be in the future, what will cars be in the future, how will we grow produce in the future, how will we live differently with the environment and the creatures?
His favorite attraction would be the land, living with the land.
Possibly, although they're not growing hash there. For him, it's his
what?
His corned beef. And
the corned beef.
Yeah, they're not growing what he would eat.
No, Walt's chili.
He'd like potato. Mostly, it'd be all potatoes in the last scene.
But they have an attraction, the Shorts Theater, where you have the Potato Land.
He'd like.
You can see what Potato Land is like.
I would think he would at least respect that they paid homage to him with a park that was very much who he was as a person, right? But then I think, God, if he walked in there now and was like, are we saying in the future we think people will be trees and talking raccoons? Like, what are you telling our audience? We have a park where our cartoon characters live. Why did you make another park that has our cartoon characters that's just down the road from the one that has them? I don't understand.
This yellow dome looks cool, and you made billions of dollars last year. What's up there? Nothing. You don't want to know. There's nothing.
But I think like Guardians,
billions of dollars and we can't do anything.
He might feel differently. Like the World Showcase question is always interesting. It's these are the stories that, because that's really what happened.
How could you not enjoy World Showcases?
He borrowed those stories. I meant in terms of attractions with IP. No, I think he loved the idea of World Showcase. I think he thinks that's great, but I wonder what the thought would be on if the attractions, because they're inspired by the stories from those regions. And then Disney adapted them, and that's certainly something he did. That's exclusively what he did in his animation while he was alive, was borrow from European and all these stories.
Correct.
And he tried to make the Ice Queen for decades. And they finally did it not that long ago. So, yeah, I don't know. I do think there is no doubt in my mind, for what it's worth, which probably isn't much because I didn't know the man. But I would dare say there's no way he wouldn't be pissed at Epcot. How could he not be? If we're pissed about it not matching his, spirit and message, then man, he would have to be just furious.
Which attraction globally do you think would make Walt roll over in his grave the most? Ooh, I have one. We've discussed it already. Beauty and the Beast sing-along. Where you take the hard work of like brilliant animators and storytellers and composers and lyricists and you reduce it to something stupid and poorly animated and thrown together. You make something that makes a mockery of your work, that makes a mockery of the work of all the animators and storytellers. I think he would hate that.
Cars Road Trip.
Cars Road Trip is...
I think he'd be like, this is... You built... Because he'd be like... You built a Cars land, and you built this land that's unbelievable. It's beautiful, and you built this incredible e-ticket and these fun little rides and all these shops and restaurants for people to go in. And then you came out here, and all you did was reskin a studio tour ride you built.
I know, but I want desperately to go there.
I love it because
I desperately want to go there. Just the look on the face of that truck when he catches on fire. And he says something like, "Oh no!"
He doesn't know he's on fire. Oh my god! It is the best.
Billy,
schlock.
Please put a little video clip from our Cars Road Trip video in here of the truck catching on fire.
It's one of the most
put a card
watched
too.
videos of it because I went for the opening day.
Attention, préparez-vous, elle arrive, et
but like, it's incredible schlock. Like I love it because it's so stupid. But he would undoubtedly be furious that all the multi-billion-dollar corporation and the best you guys did was you took some statues from down the street at another Cars ride, you ripped them out of the ground, you placed them in the dirt, and then built like a giant lug nut. You built a giant canvas wrap of a map and threw it up on the set of Dinotopia. Like he would be livid. He would be furious. He'd be like, "You have done better with this, and you can't? Like, what are you, stupid?"
What hasn't changed? I mean, Mr. Toad's Wild Ride basically hasn't changed.
There might be, I would be so interested, like, would he be angry about all the old stuff that just got left without many updates,
like you said,
right?
he was a butcher, right? He's like, hey, I have a bigger dream. We need this space, right?
But in fairness, that's a very different Toad than he had, right? Like
How different is it?
They built his actual house, right? It used to be just tent facades. They built all those Fantasyland rides were rebuilt from the ground up in '83. They're all very different.
I don't even remember that
be
from
like,
when I was a kid, right?
This is what I wish I had the money to do in '55. I wish we could have made it look like the real movies. And
I mean, Pirates has changed, but that's his like kind of magnum opus,
I think he'd
right?
understand the movie. When you tell him it inspired a movie series that was a giant hit, and they didn't fundamentally ruin Pirates in any way. I'd love.
They ruined some of the gags,
or his thoughts on the redhead scene.
They reversed some of the gags.
Man, if I like made $1 billion and they told me you can give me the $1 billion now to invent time travel and we're going to bring Walt Disney back and find out what he thinks about the redhead scene, I would gladly give away the $1 billion I've worked my entire life for just to know if he would care or not.
I guess It's a Small World has not changed much. If at all. They inserted a few characters and things like that. That's fairly similar.
I think, but
Scott T says the same thing.
He began that process, though, the process of plussing. So I think he'd expect it, right? He would expect it. I think he'd ride the Matterhorn and he'd be like, "Oh wow, like look what you did! You built an interior, and there's an actual like creature chasing the guests." Like he'd be. I think there's some stuff like that where he'd be blown away. Submarine Voyage. Right? Yeah. Imagine like you took someone, like they died in 1966, you brought them back to life and you put them on their submarine ride, which used to just be things on wires or hooked to metal pieces that flung them around the water. You took them in there and suddenly like cartoon animated fish are talking underwater and they're animated and they're in the water somehow.
And yeah, I'm the opposite
I think he'd
because
be blown away.
because there's something I appreciate more about the practical effects than the projected effects.
But if you took someone out of the 60s and then showed them a CGI fish animated to look like it's swimming in the water physically in front of them,
you'd blow his mind.
He might die again he might have a heart attack right there and then. Like, what is happening?
And obviously, some of the new rides would blow his mind.
Oh,
Even Star Tours, as basic as Star Tours is, like would blow the mind of someone.
Because it would all be
60s,
new, right? He wouldn't know what technology had been developed, right?
All of Galaxy's Edge.
Oh yeah.
I mean, he'd be like, "What the hell is Star Wars?" But
no, I think we'd immediately resurrect him, and the first thing he'd say in that land is, "Where's Darth Vader?"
I was promised roaming droids and Darth Vader.
You know, and then
you gave me Kylo Ren.
We're gonna build a hotel. We should build a hotel theme to this, and it'll include only the original trilogy characters. They'll be like, well,
He wasn't big on wanting to run hotels, was he?
No, he wasn't. Right? He let the Rathers run the Disneyland Hotel, but I think I'm pretty sure he was in on it by when he was developing Disney World. I think from Walt's.
Oh yeah.
I think they already knew they were building hotels, and I think he maybe felt bad about he liked the Rathers. I think they were very friendly, and he didn't regret making the deal. But I think by then he's like, well, we don't need to do that again. I don't need anyone's money. Like, we'll operate the hotels.
Well, when you look at it, it's they're expanding their business into an area they had no knowledge of, right? So they go, we're going to get into hospitality. No, they expand into areas they don't know anything about building retirement communities. Yeah. Right? They hired somebody that did. Now they're planning 2 retirement communities.
Food. Can we talk about that?
Yeah.
That's the one that always blows my mind more than anything was at some point he was just like, I think we can do the food. You're like, Walt, we're an entertainment company. You're going to make food? It's like, yeah. Why can't we make food?
How hard can it be to order hot dogs and warm them up?
Like at some point, the Walt Disney Company, this entertainment juggernaut, just started cooking for people. That blows my mind. It's just such a weird chain of events that lead from company makes animated cartoons to eventually like operates thousands of restaurants around the world. Right? Yeah, they're in their parks and resorts, but still. It's weird.
No, I get it.
Hotel operation is probably about as weird.
I get it because you go to any baseball, football stadium, right? They don't make the food. No, they have somebody like Center Plate or whatever do it.
The New York Yankees didn't. George Steinbrenner didn't at some point wake up and be like, Derek Jeter, you're gonna start making menus.
Derek Jeter's fish and chips.
Mariano Rivera making
the closer dogs.
Yeah.
And keep going. The cutter pretzel.
Andy Pettit needs like something spicy for his temper. Something, I don't know. These are some dated Yankees references, by the way. These Yankees I grew up with. A man of my old team.
I'm a Royals fan. Usually they start out with me and end up at the Yankees or
Scott
Red Sox.
Brocious, Shane Spencer. Remember Shane Spencer? He was a thing.
No, but I remember Scott Brocious when he quit being able to throw to first base or whatever.
Yeah.
I remember that. Yeah.
Bernie Williams. Yeah. Burn, baby, burn.
But speaking of name Bernie Williams, odd sports moment. There was a guy that played for the Philadelphia Eagles named Bernie Williams. He's, I don't know, this is like in the 80s or the 90s. Yeah. He got suspended for drug use, right? So he never applied for reinstatement, but they never kicked him out of the league. He was just suspended.
Yeah.
So every year for like the last 30 years, he's been on the list of like suspended players. He didn't know it. So I guess this year he finally like retired. He's 50 something years old. Wow. And there's like, oh, I guess I was always on that list. Different Bernard Williams is what his name is, but you call it Birdie if you want. I don't know. But I thought that was funny. Totally unrelated to Walt would probably not be rolling over in his grave.
Drugs though made me think of another Yankee, Darryl Strawberry.
I don't think of him as a Yankee though. I think of him as a Met.
A Met, yeah.
Yeah. So,
but he was a Yankee.
I know, but he was. The Yankees rented a lot of players, but very few of them are Yankee DNA, right? Derek Jeter, Yankee DNA. Don Mattingly, Yankee DNA. Mariano Rivera, Yankee DNA.
We didn't just buy champion. We're not going to get into this now, but It's a narrative people.
No,
like.
but I come from a market where we had to manufacture from scraps.
You didn't have to. You
championships.
chose to.
They don't have the budget.
Yeah, okay.
They don't have a city, the largest city in America, supporting their team.
Okay.
Right. It's different when you have a different.
All the other ball
different
clubs are very
economics.
poor. They're very poor.
They are very poor.
Yeah.
When one ball club has a payroll of $20 million and the Yankees and Red Sox have a payroll of $200 million,
That doesn't win championships. I don't agree.
I know the Yankees have proven that over the last 20 years, where they cannot buy a championship. I don't know what it is. But congratulations on Aaron Judge. He's good.
You know.
That's all I know about baseball these days. I don't watch it anymore. You know what? This season, I watched 0 innings of baseball. I used to be obsessed with baseball. I watched 0 innings of baseball this year.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think I even saw a portion of an inning of any game. Like,
We talked about this on another show. Once the Red Sox and the Cubs won World Series, I was like, I'm good. Like what is the excitement now? I don't know what the excitement
what's left?
is. Right? There's nothing left to see. I'm good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy for whoever. Texas won this year? I think. Good for them.
I'm happy for
Good
them.
for them. I don't know. They had a gorgeous baseball stadium, and they decided to build a brand new one right next to it. I don't, because they're stupid. Walt would roll over in his grave.
We have another bullet point. I think this is, if anything, is going to make Walt Disney roll over in his grave. This is lazy management.
Oh, wait. Mark Pyle said that thanks to the umpire that the Royals stole the 85 series. You mean the guy who was called safe and then never scored, never reached home plate, and didn't have any impact on the score, but the Cardinals all melted down because they were mentally weak? Yeah, they stole that championship. Wow. Anyway, go ahead.
Speaking of mentally weak, lazy management.
Lazy management.
So you have the innovation and stuff. I think, look, there is a lot of management in Disney parks that does not go out into the park. That's the thing. That's always been my thing. One of my favorite memories, the opening of Galaxy's Edge. That day, I booked a dining reservation at 50's Primetime, and we're checking in at 50's Primetime. It's a grand opening, so all the management's out in the park for the opening of Galaxy's Edge or Rise. It might have been Rise of the Resistance. I don't remember. But one of those Star Wars Galaxy's Edge grand openings. And the lady at the check-in is like, are you celebrating anything, the first visit or anything? And I go, I'm not celebrating my first visit, but a lot of the managers out in the park might need a button. And she lost it. She just shows the funniest thing because, again, you see managers that you didn't know they existed. You're like, you work for this park or this resort? I've never seen you before. Yeah. And you could tell these people. My favorite is like, they look very official and they wear name tags because they're out in the park. They're on stage, right? My favorite thing is inevitably on those days you'll watch guests will go up and be like, "Where's the bathroom?" And you just watch the blood drain from their face. And they don't know because they don't go out in the park. They have no idea.
I mean, I know that Bob Chapek would duck in and duck out immediately.
Run.
He'd peek
Run
into
for the
park,
hills.
get a picture taken, and he's gone.
Yeah.
Josh D'Amaro, on multiple occasions, I've seen him in the park for a prolonged period of time. On one occasion at Baseline Tap House, he stopped and had a 10-minute conversation with us.
Yeah.
And he goes, I wish I could sit with you guys and have a beer, but, I can't. And then, hey, did you guys, what are you guys doing today? Like, he cared. He seemed to care if people cared. And then we said, hey, Rise went down. He goes, yeah, we had a little bit of an electrical issue. They're working on it. He's like, he knew what was going on operationally in a park that he was just buzzing through, right? He had his finger on the pulse. So, look, all these people are imperfect. And I know people are going to say, blame it. Josh is running circles around what Chapek did when he was running parks.
Yeah.
I don't agree with everything they do, but I do agree that they have someone that cares
There's at least
about
people
it
that care,
that's running it. So I don't know that makes him qualified to be CEO one day. I just think it makes him it endears him to the people that care about this thing, right?
Yeah.
So when he takes the stage, people feel his passion and energy when he talks about something. He's a lot more articulate. He's good on the stage.
Yeah.
Especially compared to Chapek.
So would
I mean,
a hard-boiled egg.
yeah.
Hard-boiled egg would be about as effective at a D23.
The dog in Carousel of Progress has more stage presence than Bob Chapek. But Josh D'Amaro gets up there, and within moments, you feel like he cares about this thing that you care about. And he's passionate. Look, he went up there a couple of years ago at Destination D23 with nothing new to announce and made everyone feel like we were on our way to like the greatest Disney experience.
Yeah.
I mean, it's funny to look back on churros are back. Here's all this stuff that's back. He gets all excited. He had nothing new really to share that we didn't already know.
Yeah.
But I mean, that passion and that energy, and it's obvious to people that he spends time in the parks and understands them and understands why people
I
like
once
them.
ran into him. He had no handler or anything.
Yeah.
He was sort of dressed down, and he was just going and talking to cast members. And I was so impressed by that because I can't think of anyone. Never mind Bob Chapek. I can't think of anyone who's run parks and resorts since like Dick Nunes, who maybe actually did that. Like a bunch of them, like Jay Rizzullo wasn't doing it. None of those people were doing it. But Josh, to his credit, like you see him, he's at everything, right? He was out in Hong Kong, and they stayed, right? They didn't just stay. I was like, because they had the dedication on the 16th of November, and I was like, well, they're out of here by now. And then we got there for the grand opening on the 20th. I was like, oh, Josh is still here. And I think you could even see him. I believe he's in our Frozen Ever After video. I was like, he stayed for several days and like saw the thing off through the actual grand opening for guests. And yeah, like that's
and you can hold these people accountable.
No one else would have stayed in Hong Kong for several days like that. That's run that division before.
It's perfectly reasonable to say like all these people have a little blood on their hands, right? Not everybody's perfect.
Yeah.
Bob Iger's an imperfect leader. He simply has the benefit of being better than the guy he replaced again, right? Josh D'Amaro, same thing, right? Josh D'Amaro came in and he was better than the guy that he replaced.
I think he's better
and
than
he has a lot of the ingredients to be someone that endears himself to Disney fans.
Yeah.
I'm not saying every decision he's made is great.
No.
Look,
And
they're
not every decision
giving this
ever
directive,
makes
right?
sense,
Squeeze
right?
more money out of people. That's part of the deal.
Yeah.
That's part of the deal. Yeah. There's no point where you're running parks and resorts and you get to go, no, we're not going to be more profitable. We're not going to make more money. You have to do these. But that's not up to him.
They did though.
That's
They
not
took
that
away
is up to the
resort
demands from the board
parking and like all sorts of little stuff like
the
that.
little
right?
stuff. But I think they probably could do that by proving the downsides of that, right?
Yeah.
We've lost faith with people
Yeah.
and all this kind of stuff. So, but I don't think they draw a line in the sand. I think the board is going to say we want returns. The shareholders are going to say we want returns, and it takes a very sophisticated person to handle that.
Yeah.
And I don't know that he's ready for that. I think in terms of just running the parks and resorts, he's doing a good job.
There's a delicate balance, right? Of can you deliver the quality and still keep shareholders happy? I believe you can, but sometimes I don't know that Disney believes that.
Yeah, and look, they're constantly fighting all kinds of battles in different directions, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's dealing with government issues and legal issues to fighting off Nelson Peltz and other people that want to get a piece of the action, right? They have activist investors that are looking to, that are scooping up shares where they can and trying to do things. They have a lot. There's a lot of sophisticated stuff that goes on.
Yeah.
And maybe someone that's a really good leader for a Wall Street time is not the right leader for a time when you're in, there's a time and season for every type of leader, right? And Walt Disney was not, he wasn't the CEO, right? Roy was the CEO. Walt was dealing with the creative stuff.
Yeah.
The company's named after Walt, but Roy was dealing with the, quote, business of the day, right?
Yeah.
They're different people for different times. If Walt had been in charge of the finances of the company, we never would have heard of this company. It would have been bankrupt,
Yeah.
right?
That's fair. He's not rolling in his grave about that.
He's not rolling. He's rolling in his grave. We know that. Twitter, Facebook, and everyone story
agrees.
we publish.
We can't agree about over what, but he's definitely rolling.
I mean, Elon Musk just knows about it today. Who probably doesn't know a lot. It doesn't strike me as a Disney fan who's in touch with all the changes that have gone on in the parks.
Yeah.
He knows it. Everybody knows it. So, well, that's where we are. 12 episodes deep.
Yep.
What? Do we get a plaque or anything? When do we get a plaque?
A plaque for
I don't know. Don't you get us a plaque if we make enough shows? No.
No.
I signed up thinking
We get
this
a
is
plaque if we hit 1 million subscribers, but we're still like almost 800,000 subscribers away from it.
That's where you come in, folks. You can click that like, the little thumbs up, but also click subscribe so that you never miss the episodes of the podcast
watching on YouTube.
or of News Today. If you're watching on YouTube, which many of you are, if you're subscribed on your podcast feed, that's great. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
But obviously, it's much more entertaining to watch us eat Reese's Peanut Butter Cups live. So you can be a WIGS member to do that.
The audio people only heard us eat Reese's.
They had to listen to us smacking our lips eating Reese's Peanut Butter Cups.
This is echoing through someone's car right now.
Yeah. Someone's going to lose their job. Somebody's wife is calling and hearing kissy noises, and he's going to get in trouble when he gets home. So, yeah, all right. Well, I guess this wraps it up.
Yeah.
Tom, who else brings us this show?
What
It's
did we?
the Carousel of Products.
Oh, Carousel of Products. I think I'm wearing a Carousel of Products shirt today, am I?
Your
Oh,
t-shirt?
yeah. If you think this is good, you should have seen Horizons. I'm wearing that today. That's from Carousel of Products at carouselofproducts.com. We have a handful of Gertie shirts left. I think they're just in small.
Do we have more? Oh, we
small
restocked.
and
There's
large.
a few more.
There's literally, I think, like 10 remaining in existence. But there's a lot of our older stuff, a lot of it discounted. If you're looking for some, it'll definitely, if you order it now, it's going to arrive for Christmas. So.
Do we have a Walt is rolling over in his grave
No,
t-shirt?
we haven't done that. But there's
Maybe
a
we
lot
should
of
do
fun
that.
stuff there. So go peruse, go look.
We created
And
a
you
new
help
university
support
yesterday.
WDW by doing it. Well, we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah. There's a new school.
It needs a new logo because the one I made was
Prototype community
temporary
college.
and not great.
We'll see. We'll get to that. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Tell people if you like the podcast.
Yeah.
We'll see you next time.
See you real soon.
That was fun.
Tom unbuttons his shirt and look away because it just doesn't show. Oh, I guess I hate wasting food. There's half a bad Reese's peanut butter cup. I'm gonna eat it. Maybe they're better warm.